Wow, 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 wow. I mean, where do I even start with this match reaction? Liverpool 3, Newcastle 2. What a game. What a game. Second game of the season or third game of the season, I think. I've even lost track at the moment. This was mad. From minute 1 to minute 100 and I think 110 and 111, I don't even remember. It was end-to-end action from the first minute the whistle was blown to the last whistle blown in the game. It was just brilliant from both teams. It's not just Newcastle or Liverpool or Liverpool like individually. Both teams made this a game. As a neutral, I don't support any of the teams. As a neutral, watching this match, brilliant. I mean, again, I don't even know where to start. Good goal from Liverpool, red card from Anthony Gordon, a second goal, brilliant strike from Ekitike, looking like a really good striker. It looks like they don't even need Alexander Isak. And then out of nowhere, Newcastle get a goal back. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be a 2-1 game. Newcastle are going to pepper Liverpool. It's going to be a tough, end to the game. And out of nothing, Newcastle get a second goal. And you're like, wow. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy because the striker for Newcastle that they bought that has not played a single game gets a debut goal. And the 16-year-old, Rio can't really pronounce his second name, comes onto the field, first debuts in a Liverpool game, in the game of such a huge magnitude. As soon as he touches the ball, you can see the talent in the kid. You can see this kid is going levels. He's going to be a good player. From the first second he touches the ball, you can see that. And some way, somehow, gets himself in a great position and finishes a really, to be honest, that was a difficult goal to score. Most people would miss that. To hit that first time inside of the foot at 16 years old, it's such a pressure cooker of an environment. St. James's Park is not for the weak, by the way. St. James's Park is not a place you go and easily get 3 points in Liverpool's case, or even a point if you're lucky. So to be in such a pressure cooker of an environment at 16 years old and to finish that shot off, brilliant. He's going to be a good player. I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's going to be a really, really, really good player for Liverpool once he starts getting introduced into the team and all of that. But I'm going to reel it back. I'm going to reel back in a little bit because I feel like I couldn't even take a lot of notes. As soon as we got to like the 60th minute of the game, I was so focused and locked in on what was happening on my screen that I forgot to take notes. So I'm gonna go through, the little notes I have, and then maybe just, remember some of the little stuff, that happened in the game that, we can kind of talk about. I spoke about how end to end the game was, end to end action from minute 1 to minute 90. Newcastle. One thing I love about Newcastle is they go for the game. No matter the opposition you're facing, Newcastle would be a really good team in the Champions League if they did qualify for the Champions League. They'd be a really good team in the Champions League in the sense that they can give anyone a game. They do not park the bus. They do not, try to defend against anyone. They try to go for it. They go for the attack. They go for the chance, and they try and win the game. Because even 10 men down, you can see Newcastle pressing, going forward. At a certain point, it looked like Liverpool were the ones down a man. It didn't look like Liverpool. It didn't look like Newcastle were down one player. It looked like it was Liverpool. They were kind of, shaky on the ball a little bit. And they didn't look that confident at a certain point in the game against Newcastle. So really like what I saw from Newcastle. First half, Kerkers was really good. Really like what I saw. Anthony Gordon, unfortunately for him, his game got ruined by that red card. To be honest, I feel like if Newcastle had the 11 players on the field, I think they would have gotten a draw. I think, the 2 goals Liverpool scored really good, but, the extra man they had opened up the space for Rio to get the winning goal. So I do think if Newcastle had that extra man, they probably would have gotten a result from this game. Um, Florian Wirtz. I don't want to gloss over Florian Wirtz. I'm trying to reel back a little bit because again, crazy game, to witness. I think Newcastle fans. We'll talk about Florian Wirtz, but Newcastle fans, can hold your head up high that they gave Liverpool a game. If they go to Anfield, I think they could probably get a result there. But I think Newcastle fans and Newcastle players can hold their head up high that they gave Liverpool title holders and defenders a game. So that's a positive that you can take from the game as a Newcastle fan, a Newcastle manager, and a Newcastle player. Florian Wirtz. It's been 2 games now. I'm not seeing what I saw in Leverkusen. I'm not seeing the Florian Wirtz we saw in the Euros. I'm not seeing the Florian Wirtz we saw in Leverkusen. And it's starting to be a concern. I know people say there's a bedding in period. You have to kind of get to know the league. But look at Ekitike. Ekitike doesn't, he hasn't played in the Premier League before. And he's coming in and he looks like, one of Liverpool's best players at the moment. He's scoring goals. His movement is really good. His off-ball movement, his build-up play, his laying off, everything from Ekitike looks very, very solid. And I'm not seeing the same from Florian Wirtz. And it is a concern because Florian Wirtz is one of the best midfielders, I think, in the world, one of the best attacking midfielders in the world, up there with Pedri, Bellingham. He's a really, really good player. So to see him not have the same level of impact as he was in Leverkusen and in Germany is kind of a concern. But hopefully he does pick up form. I mean, I don't even know what the issue is. When players are not performing well, you can kind of pinpoint that they're doing this wrong, or the manager is not really using them the way that they'd like to be used. But I think in Florian Wirtz's case, it might just be the speed and intensity of the Premier League, It could just be that it is a little bit too much for him. But I do think he's going to come good eventually. I think he is too good of a player to not eventually come good. He's definitely going to be an important player for Liverpool going forward. Anthony Elanga looked, pretty decent. I think Anthony Elanga is the sort of a player where he needs a striker. He needs a striker up top to put crosses into the box too, and also to help him, open up the defense a little bit more. I think the lack of a striker is what is affecting Anthony Elanga at the moment. I think the Newcastle manager, forgotten his name. That's why I'm just calling the Newcastle manager. I think he should just start playing Osula. I think Osula, he didn't necessarily play well in this, when he came on. He did get the goal, but he didn't necessarily play well. But I do think at the moment, you don't have a striker, you might as well just play Osula. You might as well just play Osula, play Anthony Gordon off the left, Elanga off the right, and I think you would get more benefits from these two wingers when you have a central striker. I think Osula is good enough to score goals for Newcastle. I think that's going to be the case. I'm trying to remember a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot of stuff happened in that game. A whole lot of stuff happened. So I'm trying to hit the major points in the game that I think were important. Arne Slot. I think he's had, an entire season in the Premier League, and there is something I've noticed about Arne Slot. He is not a good game manager. I think they were lucky today, to be honest. Getting to the end of the game, I think they were lucky to get 3 points. I think they could have gotten 2 points, they could have gotten 1 point, but I think they were very lucky to get 3 points from this game. The Ekitike sub confused me. Keeping Salah on and taking off Ekitike to bring in Chiesa, who is not a striker, in a game where you have the extra man advantage. You don't take off your striker. You don't have a backup striker on the bench. If they had someone else on the bench that Ekitike could come off for, I'd understand. But Ekitike is hot on form. He's just scored a goal. There's no reason to take Ekitike off. There's really no reason to take Ekitike off. You can take Salah off, bring Chiesa, who can actually play on the wings. So his game management, I have noticed, his game management is a bit weird. His substitutes are a little bit, weird. I know people are going to say, the Rio substitute worked and he scored a goal, but that was luck. If Newcastle had 11 players, I don't think Rio gets that space to score the goal he scores. I don't think Rio gets that space to score the goal he scores if Newcastle have 11 players on the field, despite the talent he has. I'm watching the highlights again back, and the first moment he touches the ball, you can see he's brilliant. I mean, he's going to be a brilliant player. I'm not going to necessarily focus on Ngumoha's goal. I'm not going to focus on him. His goal was good, but I think if Newcastle have that extra man, where they're not necessarily, chasing the ball around, I think they track Rio, and he's in the, he doesn't get that opportunity to score that goal. But then again, back to Arne Slot, he's a lucky manager. He's a lucky manager. His game management, I think even in the first game of the season where he took off Frimpong and brought on a CDM to play that position, his substitutes and game management is not the best. And they got away with it this time around. But I do think if they come up against a team that actually know how to manage a game and they're not in a good position, I think that could affect them. Champions League football and that kind of stuff. You need to know how to manage games, and I think that would affect them. His game management is very, very poor, very, very poor. I think substitutes wise, he makes too many subs. I think making subs. Sometimes you see fans complaining that some managers don't make enough subs. I think in his case, he makes too many subs. He makes too many subs at weird times. Maybe take Ekitike off in the 80th minute, like in the 88th minute, like in a time where if taking him off is not really going to affect you. Because I do think that if Ekitike was on, they probably would have gotten this third goal before Rio came on. I think they could have gotten goal number 3 and goal number 4 if Ekitike was on. So the sub for Ekitike was weird. His game management was a little bit weird, and he just got lucky with Rio coming in and scoring that winning goal. Again, for Newcastle, if you're a Newcastle fan, you're a Newcastle player, you look at this game and you can take positives. You can take positives in the sense that you've given the league winners of last season a game. They've come to your home and you've given them a game. And I keep saying this. I've said this before. St. James's Park is not a place you go and easily take points off of Newcastle. So yeah, I think if they can sort out the striker situation, I think they can get more use of from Alanga and Anthony Gordon. I think Osula is going to start in the next game now that Anthony Gordon has a straight red card. So it would be good to see. They're up against I think it's Wolves. Either Wolves or Leeds United, one of the two of them. I think Osula is going to start that game, and if he starts that game and plays very well, I think he would be the go-to striker for the Newcastle manager, for Eddie Howe. And I think once you have a striker up top, I think you're going to get more benefits from Anthony Alanga and Anthony Gordon, because I think Alanga played well today, but the lack of a striker that he really, really benefited from when he was at Nottingham Forest with Chris Wood really impacted his game in a negative way. I feel like I haven't really, talked a lot about, crucial stuff that happened in the game, because a whole lot happened in the game. This is so far, with the games that have been played so far, this has been for me the game of the season. It was Spurs Man City for me. It was Spurs Man City, but this game definitely takes game of the season so far for me. And it's going to be difficult to top this. It's going to be really difficult to top this. It may be going to be a Manchester versus United. Manchester versus Liverpool. That's United versus Liverpool. In that derby, if they can get a good if they can start to get to grips with your new players and stuff. That's Manchester United I'm talking about. So yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Who was your man of the match? I don't even know who was my man of the match. I think everyone was the man of the match, but I think Rio probably takes it. He probably takes the man of the match. coming in and getting the winning goal. I don't know. I really don't know which Liverpool player does deserve man of the match. I think Ekitike probably can take it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And as usual, any feedback from you guys would be greatly appreciated.